Hey everyone, on this day, the 17th day of Flame Scale, the campaign day of 138th. No, that doesn't make sense. Hi everyone, I'm Butley, and I'm here with Patch as usual.
Hi everyone, I'm Patch, and we're here on the 15th day of Flame Scale.
17th, right?
Damn it.
Yeah. One day,
Let's just keep going and start over.
One day we're gonna do this intro, and one of us isn't going to be here. It'll be like, hey guys, I'm Butley and I'm not here with Patch.
It was me hoping that we just introed for the entire episode.
Hey everyone, today is the 21st day of Flame Scale.
Hey guys, we're recording this episode on the 27th of March.
I know.
There you go, that'll give you a date on how slow
That's
we are
it, I'm uploading 10 episodes today to catch up. I'm not that far behind, I'm a couple of weeks behind, but we've been recording quite a few episodes a week, really.
Yeah, we do. We record pretty frequently.
It's helping that the episodes are, like, I'm trying to cut them down, especially when we do these training things. I can usually knock out a couple of training vids and a bit of grinding and a few bits and pieces.
Yeah, there's a lot
that can get them down to 20-30 minutes.
A lot that goes into it. You've got to do the actual level, and then we've got to get together, and we've got schedules to think about. So we do pretty good for videos.
Yeah, and like I post a few a week. I probably post as many as we record a week, so I'm only usually say 2 weeks behind.
Yeah.
Now, anyway. The last few weeks have been pretty good.
Anyway, so let's say a few more things to date the video.
To date the video.
Yeah, well, what's happening right now? Ukulele is coming out soon.
Sans. No, we can't do that. That's something I'll talk to you about afterwards.
Okay.
What else is happening right now? The Power Rangers trailer came out.
There's a cyclone forming near me, just down the coast. It's not going to go anywhere near me, actually.
I don't know. Okay, let me have like a minute on that. Cyclones, okay. I don't know how people name cyclones around the world, but the way Australia's done it, they go in like alphabetical order. So we had a cyclone off Western Australia, obviously off the west coast, called Caleb. And so the next cyclone, now on the east coast of northern Queensland, is called Debbie. So we had Caleb and then Debbie. So the next one will be like Eugene or something like that. That's how Australia names its cyclones. That's my fact for the day. I don't know what the rest of the world, if that's a global meteorology group that decides that, or if like the Philippines are calling it like Cyclone Thunderhead, or if they just like, oh, the Aussies are calling this one Debbie, we'll call it Debbie as well. Anyway.
I don't know how, but I heard that it was going to be called Cyclone Nathan or something, and then like the next day it was Cyclone Debbie.
No,
and everyone knew it was Cyclone Debbie.
Do it in alphabetical order. It was always going to be D.
Maybe I was just hearing things.
Yep. Like I said, unless the World Council or whatever names them different independently of what Australia names them, but that's what Australia's always done.
Yeah.
Which is, I find it kind of cool. It's reasonable
enough. That World
enough.
Council, though.
The World Council. Well, I imagine there's some sort of World Council of Meteorology, and they get together and they like shake their fists and yell about global warming. I don't know. I'm offending like anyone who knows anything about meteorology and the weather and the world and the environment, because I'm probably like crossing genres. I do this. We don't study global warming. We study the weather.
Cyclone Debbie.
Yeah. That's it. I measure the tides, and that's what creates the tide. That's how we find the cyclones. It's got nothing to do with global warming. Why would you even suggest that? I'm really sorry to anyone. Let's let it be known this is my ignorance.
I'm not.
I'm really bad at not like, I understand the things that I understand in life really well. Like I try my best to be really proficient at the things that I know. But the things that I don't know anything about, yeah, I'm really clueless, like a child.
Lucky.
Yeah, he stumbled.
So today we were going to talk about guns.
Yeah. And how there aren't any guns in Tactics Ogre.
Exactly. We're going to talk
I know
about
a game where there are guns.
Hey.
I know a sequel.
Dinosaurs. So
You can take it away. I got nothing else. I'll finish goofing around.
let me take you back to an era long ago where that guy threw a fucking axe. I mean, a damn axe. Sorry, I didn't.
Then we went up to an M-rated thing.
Censored by YouTube.
Tag.
Yep, gonna be put on the adult list. Extreme, obscene language.
I bet Square won't try and monetize this video. It sets a bad image. Oh, that was the funniest thing. I don't know if we should segue too much, but apparently the best way right now on YouTube to get around people claiming like your videos is to put multiple copyright infringement stuff in, so that multiple companies try and claim it, and therefore no one can.
Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned it on this video, but I know you've told me, and that's just great and ridiculous all at once.
It's silly. It just puts a shiny highlight mark over how silly the whole system is. Like the automated bots that tag videos and stuff like that, you can trick them into tagging you too much and screwing everyone. I'm sure they'll do a workaround at some point, but for now it's just funny.
So, as I was saying before, let me take you back to a time long ago called the 90s. 3D was finally a thing. We had it on Nintendo 64. We could finally play 3D games. Yeah. And the first sort of wave of games that came out in 3D were interesting. And you'll know what I mean if you've played any of them.
There was nothing wrong with James Bond.
No, but it's sort of, you can tell its age. A lot of the surfaces in it are like one texture, and it's just a wall that is one texture the whole way along. Like the surface level in James Bond, where the walls are just a texture of trees on a flat surface, and it just goes around the whole map.
Which one's the surface?
That's the snow one.
There are trees in
and no, it's just a texture of trees.
Alright.
And there's a fog in a lot of these old, especially shooters. The fog blocks your vision, so you can't see too far away. They usually got around it by having shorter areas, so you wouldn't see much of the fog. That are cut off corners before you reach the fog and things. But it did exist, and it was because the limits of the engine. It couldn't have so many things on screen, and it couldn't handle lots of textures, and it couldn't handle too much going on at once. But despite that, they still made a lot of really good games, and over time, they got better and better with it. So we're talking about Turok, or specifically Turok 2. The first Turok game is quite good. I haven't played much of it, but it's got a notorious reputation for being agony on the eyes, because what happened in the game was they just had the same texture on walls, and you could be running down a sort of a narrow corridor, and there'd be fog in the distance, and an enemy in the distance would shoot you from a place you couldn't see, and as you're running, it's just like a blur of the same texture over and over running past your eyes, and it was really painful to watch.
I thought you were going to give this game a glowing review when we started this.
Well, that was Turok 1.
Oh.
Come Turok 2, they massively stepped up their game. It has environments where you can navigate based off where you are. It's not, there's still many textures that are reused, but you can, the level design was massively improved, and just so much about Turok 2 is a fantastic game, and that's what I want to talk about. So for some context, Turok 2, Turok the series, is about a Native American man killing dinosaurs, typically with shotguns, and assault rifles, and explosives, and a bow and arrow, and claws.
Whatever he can get his hands on.
Yeah, and it's just one of the weirdest things. How many games is there where a Native American kills dinosaurs?
64, it was in a time where people just made up game concepts, original, how do you call it, intellectual property or whatever, just original ideas and concepts were just, they were just
prevalent.
Excuse me, I think everyone, because they went into 3D, they didn't just take a lot of their 2D games and touch them up, they were like, well, we're going to start something new.
Yeah, it was an opportunity for people to really make some headway and create some new things with this new 3D environment.
Another game that was completely unique at the time, I believe, was it Body Harvest was on 64?
Oh, yeah, that game was amazing.
Like, I've never seen anything about it ever again.
No,
but
sadly.
But it was just like they needed something new, and it was like I still don't even know if I fully understand the origins of the character. It was just he was a fighter, and there was aliens, and he had to deal with them.
Yeah.
But it was new, and it was unique, and it was interesting because yeah, that's what they were trying to do in those days. They had to think up new, interesting ways.
So, one of the reasons Turok 2 is so memorable, it also came out on PC, by the way, but I played the 64 version, so that's the one I'm talking about.
You're a real gamer.
Yeah, totally. 64 was the best console for for shooters, with the C-stick, not the C-stick, the C buttons to move around.
Everyone in the PC Master Race is someone who came from those older consoles.
Maybe.
You had to see how bad they were to understand how great the PC is.
Definitely. But yeah, some of the great stuff about the game is just the variety in like killing. There's 6 stages, and each stage has, you know, different enemies and different objectives and things. But
so it's sort of a bit like if I had to say Doom 2 or Doom 95, whatever, where you like there's not that many levels, but each level is deep and involved, and there's a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, when I say levels, 6 levels, it's quite like it's a full-fledged game. It's quite large.
Like
it's
each
just,
level is huge, and there's a lot to explore and a lot of places to go. And
yeah, you could easily sink a lot of time on it. And so sorry, someone's just bugging me somewhere. What was fantastic about it is sort of you have to sort of experience it almost to sort of appreciate it, but the enemies died in really interesting ways. When you kill certain enemies, what they're doing, how they're moving, you know, the way you kill them depended on how they died. Certain enemies running towards you, if you shot them, would fall into a tumble, and that was basically revolutionary at the time, because the enemies didn't have that sort of... It wasn't ragdolls. There was still quite a bit of time before ragdolls would be, you know, well implemented into a game, but it was still very interesting and entertaining to watch a death animation based off a different sort of state.
Right.
And it's not just like running. A lot of the weapons also cause the enemies to explode, and the game got really sort of, I don't want to say gory and violent, but it was great watching an enemy's arm blow off or something like that. Hitting them with explosives, hitting them with, you know, whatever, and watching just bits of them explode open was fantastic. Like shooting a hole in an enemy. You don't get that in a lot of modern games. A lot of shooters, you shoot someone and they fall down. It's really kind of disappointing in comparison. And compared to something like Turok 2, where, you know, blowing up an enemy was blowing them up. You could take chunks off of them.
That's cool. You can see like degradation of the body as you shoot like skin off them and stuff. Dun 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 dun.
But yeah, I don't know. It's sort of like, it's really something that has to be experienced to appreciate. And I guess the reason I'm bringing it up, did I say it was on Steam?
You said it was on PC, but not really.
So it recently came out on Steam. It was on PC in the past, and they released a high-def version for PC, where it sort of fixed up a lot of the problems. It got rid of the fogs, at least, you know, to a degree where it's not because of limitations. Yeah.
Did they change the dialogue to fix their retcons?
What retcons? Each game was like its own unique entity, basically.
Anyone who watched the last video knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Dragons.
Yeah, I decided. So, these battles are kind of random. So it's like there are a handful of classes that would be on this map, and Dragon is one of them classes. But generally, you expect to get a mix of all the classes. Yeah, you don't expect 6 dragons in your face.
Yeah.
Like, this was like, holy shit, what the hell? Yeah, and
The
then
music's appropriate.
it definitely highlights the peril that we're in. So I'm trying to make myself a little defensive cone because we're about to get absolutely wrecked by dragons.
Retreat!
I was expecting like some fairies and some little gnomes and some reptiles that I could beat down and then I could start working on the dragons. No. But now at least you get to see all the different colors of dragon. I think that's about all of them. There's like air and earth and water and fire and I don't know what the purple one is at the back, I forget. Thunder, there you go. And flood. And cloud, not earth at all. So cool. So yeah. So as you'll notice, we have tended to go south down the... Oh, I shot me. Whoops. Good thing you don't deal any damage. We've been going south, and this is the reason why, because beasts are really hard to deal with unless you have like the right characters to fight them. And when you're in here training, you tend not to. Like, if I took my main team, we could deal with it, because we could pull out our mages and really wreck them apart. But our B team here really doesn't have the right mix of things. It doesn't have the levels in weapons. It doesn't have the abilities to deal pure damage to these bigger creatures. So, weakened teams always have trouble with not just dragons, any kind of beast really. The golems, as you saw, and the octopus before. Like, we just don't have the kit. I've been sort of using rune fences a little bit to deal with that sort of stuff. But I feel like we've been overusing rune fences a bit, so it'll be nice to have some other classes to use different magic and different weapons. It'd be nice to have a nice axe wielder as well. I feel like we're missing an axe wielder and a hammer wielder. I know that who wields a hammer? Is it Voltaire? But he doesn't attack as much because he's sort of the pseudo frontline tank healer person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Well, no, I was just about to launch into the guns.
Yeah,
Just
sure,
kinda
go for
run
it.
down.
Like, so you're saying Turok is sort of unique because it has a lot of innovative things that weren't existing at the time, and so like the difference
Yeah.
between, say, James Bond is GoldenEye was a good shooter to sort of compare it to because it was popular
Yeah.
at the time. Even though it had lots of different guns, they're all kind of samey.
Oh yeah, that's definitely something that I'm not a big fan of, is when your guns are too similar. But
You're saying Turok sort of got around that, or it was trying to innovate
Yeah, Turok
beyond that.
had some crazy stuff. So I don't know. I'll try and go through some of the weapons that I remember. So there was your basic melee weapon was the claws, like just a little couple of talon-looking things you had on your fists, and then you could upgrade that to be like a blade that was like as big as your arm, just sticking out of your knuckles basically. And that was the war blade.
You go
and that's
full Wolverine.
that was the other thing about the game is basically every weapon had two forms, or not two forms, but there was sort of like a weapon, and then there was a better version of a similar weapon. So, for example, there was the pistol, and then there was a pistol that shot 3 times. There was a bow and arrow, and then there was a tech bow, which could zoom in, and it also came with exploding arrows. So each weapon sort of had an equivalent, until some of the more obscure weapons, but the basic ones all had sort of really cool equivalents. The exploding arrows were really fun. Putting one of them into an enemy, I think sometimes they would react to the fact they had an arrow in them, or an explosive on them, and then they'd explode and their arm would just go missing.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Shotguns, there was a shotgun, and it had regular bullets or explosive bullets, and then it got upgraded into some sort of like a rifle, a plasma rifle thing called the Shredder, which fired a short-range beam, and then that would explode into lots of little projectiles that fire around it. So if you got lots of enemies clumped together, you shoot one and it could hit others. There was a long-range rifle. Can't remember much about that one. Some of the really cool weapons were also really kind of gruesome ones. There was basically a spinning disc with blades on the sides, and you just throw it, and it would just automatically track down enemies and cut into them and fly back to you. Like, it would go in the rough direction you fired it, but it would also like bounce off of walls and then return to you like a boomerang.
That'd be cool.
And yeah, and it would come back with blood on it. So did the claws you had. Certain things just came back with blood.
That's cool that it's like innovative and different and does something new.
Yeah. The rocket launch was great. Probably one of the best rocket launches I've seen. In that every time you fired, it would automatically try and lock onto enemies you're roughly aiming at. And every time you fired, it would fire 3 rockets. And it'd go pow, 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 and they'd all explode. And it would be so terrible for your poor 64 and lag it from all the graphics going on.
Dear. You needed the little upgrade thing.
Yeah, the expansion pack.
God, that was so weird in those days.
Give it more RAM.
I like how the dragons have basically locked us in. Those little red squares are their like rampant aura equivalent. They've made a little box around us.
Run away!
It's like you got to get to the edge of the map, but you can't retreat.
So the another weapon. This is probably the most famous one. This was such a fun weapon. It was the cerebral bore. Basically, you would. It had a little weird aimer on screen that would try and lock onto an enemy. And when you finished locking onto the enemy, you'd fire it, and this little orb would fly out. And it would sort of, not slowly, but slow for a projectile, track towards the enemy and fly through the air. And a lot of enemies, in reaction to this, would actually try and run away from it, knowing what it was and what, and it was coming for them. So they'd turn around and bolt. And once it got to an enemy, it would latch onto their head, freeze them in place, and you'd just hear this drilling noise, and then a splatter of gore, basically, like a stream of it, would just spray out of the back of their head, because it's a cerebral bore, and what it is doing is boring into cerebellum.
Oh, yeah.
And then it would explode, typically blowing up their head in the process. And that was the most fantastic weapon to have. Very limited, but very awesome and gruesome. It's like, you don't see guns like this in modern day shooters. Even the ones that have different and creative guns. We've talked about guns and shooters a lot, especially like Borderlands and Payday, and how they're just bog standard guns. You got a shotgun, rifle, sometimes a rocket launcher, and pistols and snipers.
They're not
It's
really
like this was...
pushing the bar in creativity.
No. Whereas something like Turok 2, the gun stood out. What gun you were using at a time really had something special about it, and really made you go, oh wow, I'm using this gun. Oh hey, I've got ammo for this gun. It was really a fun thing to do and have.
Do you remember the, what is it?
Oh my god!
The bolt gun from
We have...
Fear, I think it was. Where you could like pin people to the ceiling.
Hello, Harasus, or is it?
It's Weasel.
Weasel, right. Good news, we're recording.
Ah, nice.
Welcome.
Sorry.
That's
You're
right.
alright. It's not exactly an in-depth thing, we're just shooting the breeze.
We're watching a recording of Botley play Tactics Ogre and talking over the top of it about guns and shooters, mostly Turok 2, because it came out recently on Steam.
One of Patch's
Fair enough.
favorite little pieces. An old game that we used to play heaps.
Normally we record at times when everyone else is busy.
I live in the future though, so it's like 4:40 here.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
That's
you're
a
like
good effort.
an hour ahead. Or 2
You
hours?
guys are just living in
3
the
hours.
past, man.
We usually say that to like Americans and stuff online. Why are you so far behind? What even is this?
Speaking of which, I have to play a tabletop game in an hour ago because the Americans plan to play at that time.
What? I can get it.
They're playing it at like 2 or 1 or something.
Oh, alright. So it's actually in like 15 hours for you.
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's always funny. They're like,
we
"We're
almost
playing at
lost
this
the battle.
time."
Let's talk about Tactics Ogre for a second, wrap up. Because we
okay.
survived on 9 health, and that would have been bad if we'd have taken that hit. So I managed to retreat at the last second. Suffice to say, we got absolutely wrecked by dragons. Oh dear.
is that? Oh yeah. Well, I guess that's all for now then.
Just let me have a quick check, see if I did anything
Oh,
to wrap up the
we-
episode.
okay.
But you can see we didn't get any anything out of getting absolutely wrecked.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
You got like 1 point to each class.
Yeah, that's not going to get us far. It's definitely not going to help us for the next time we face dragons. Alright, well, we'll
I'd
wrap
like to
down
thank
there.
our special guest, Spice Weasel, for joining us in the last couple of minutes.
Unbeknownst to him.
Most welcome.
Coming soon to a YouTube near you.
I'm glad I could contribute, lads.
I might have like even screwed up the recording. I might have minimized my window so everyone got a quick look at my desktop. Yeep. This is the quality of the recorders that we do. Alright, we'll wrap that up before the video runs out. And we'll catch you guys next time.